Happy Africa Day, my fellow Africans, my brothers and sisters across the continent. My name is Musani Mawela. I am the founder and brewmaster of a microbrewery based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I am also the immediate past chairperson of the Institute of Brewing and Distilling Africa section, and also I'm part of the board of the Beer Association of South Africa. As you can hear from my introduction, that I am actually somebody who's very passionate about brewing. I have been making beer for the past 15 years of my life, both in a big brewing companies and also in the small brewing companies and also home brewing. I am passionate about Africa, and I love and one of my passions is showcasing to the world actually what we as Africans have to offer, especially within the brewing space. I have not always been celebrating Africa Day or observing the day, and I think there's two main points in my life that made me realize and perceive celebration of Africa Day or Africa Month differently. One of those was when I completed my master brewer qualification through the Institute of Brewing and Distilling, and I realized that I had, and this was back in 2015. I realized then that I had mastered the science of brewing clear beers, but I had no clue or didn't know as much in terms of how traditional African beers are made. And the second one was when I then decided in 2016 to attend a course by the name of Thought Leadership for Africa's Renewal, which is a course that was offered by the University of South Africa. And during that course, I kept asking myself that, what am I doing within my space to bring about the renaissance and the renewal and the development of the African continent. And it was then that I decided that I would dedicate a lot of my time to the development of brewing within the continent, and that's how I started Brewster's Craft as a company. And within the company, I have an academy where I do training to develop the next set of brewers within the continent. So to me, Africa Day is about celebrating our unique African ways, celebrating Ubuntu Betu, celebrating who we are as Africans and what we have indigenously in Africa, and the fact that we have to use what we have, which is ours, and let the world know that we can actually do things and achieve a lot more than what many people think we could as Africans. So today's presentation is on brewing with sorghum, which is one of my favorite cereals. Those who do not know, sorghum is one of the cereals that I use in brewing, which is commonly found throughout the African continent. Brewing in Africa, as many would have read in many different different books, dates back many centuries. Brewing has been around for as far back as we can, has been written. If you go to any part of the continent, you'll come across people in a village, in a township, in a town, actually brewing their own traditional beers using their own indigenous ingredients that are found in that area. So we've been brewing beers in Africa long before European settlers brought their own brewing techniques to Africa. And for me, that was one of those moments where, as I was growing up as a brewer, growing my career, realized that my mother and my aunts who taught me how to brew traditional beer did not study it, didn't go to university for it, but they knew what are the things that one has to do and what are the principles of brewing. And for me, that was one of those light bulb moments to say, we actually have been doing this thing. We have the knowledge, we have the expertise. It's just that our science and our history is not as well documented. Beer in Africa today has two main influences. We have the traditional methodologies that have been passed down from generation to generation. That is like the way that I was taught by my mother to brew traditional beer. She was taught by her mother, who was taught by her mother. and the power of that, for me, is something that I think as Africans we should try by all means not to lose that. And it saddens me that we have a lot of young women my age and younger who have no interest in knowing how to brew traditional beers, who have no interest in probably teaching their own daughters how to brew the beers. And as a result, one of my biggest fears is that as Africans we're going to lose our tradition, and 50, 100 years from now there won't be anyone around who can actually brew these beers. Also, a lot of beers in Africa obviously have a lot of European settlement influence, depending on which nation colonized the specific country. The most common beer style in the continent is the lager. I mean, you can go to any part of the country of the continent where beer sale is allowed, and you will find a lager. And you find that a lot of these beers have actually become symbols of the different countries. They've been part of the growth of that country, and a lot of people have a lot of national pride to those specific beers, which is something that is so amazing. And then we have obviously the traditional sorghum beer that is brewed throughout the continent in various forms. So the way traditional sorghum beer is made, for example, in South Africa, will be different to the way it's made in Ghana. It will be different to the way it's made in Uganda, for an example. But what the principles or the core of them all are similar, are the same. It's just that every part of the continent people use ingredients that are readily available in their parts. So I am from South Africa, and I am from the Xhosa nation. So Xhosa, and Mamdolo, that's my clan name. And Tina in Xhosa, we call sorghum beer umqombothi. Umqombothi is one of those widely used terms to describe traditional beer in South Africa. So if you talk to anybody, even though on the slide it says Zulu call it utshwala, but if you talk to Zulu and talk about umqombothi, they don't know exactly what you're talking about. And then there's Sotho nation called it utshwala. But this is beer that has been part of our society for a very long time, and it plays a very important role in our cultures. We will brew beer when you want to have anything that involves the ancestors, anything that has, whether you're getting married, there's a funeral, there's a traditional imbizo, meetings, there will always be a beer made there. So for me, growing up, beer umqombothi is something that was made at home. My parents were not hardcore traditionalists, but they still observed and still observe a lot of the cultural things that involve ancestors and. So as a result, I grew up with us brewing umqombothi a lot at home, and we still do. So I remember when I actually completed my degree, my first degree, and got my first job, my dad called me up. At that point I was working at SAB Polokwane. So my dad called me up and asked me to come back home, which was in the Eastern Cape, to come and make umqombothi for obviously the ancestors, to thank them for the fact that I was able to after passing my matric, getting into university, completing my degree within time, and immediately getting a job after completing my degree. So I had to go back home and actually brew the beer. For me, that was the very first time I actually paid attention to the whole process of making umqombothi. And through the years, I've spent more time understanding how the product is made and everything that goes into it. So just to give you an example of what I mean by that, it plays a very important role in our culture. So we can't have anything. When I got married, we had to make umqombothi. So everything that we have, whether there's a newborn child, we brew umqombothi to celebrate that. So sorghum beer is and continues to be a very, very important part within the African society. According to the Liquor Products Act, traditional African beer is defined as an alcoholic a product that is produced by alcoholic fermentation of malted grain. It could be either sorghum, maize, millet, or any of those cereals. It must be in a state of alcoholic fermentation, and it has alcohol fermentation arrested, so being arrested by means of either pasteurization or through preservatives, and then that it must not contain any hops. So there's a lot of debate occurring in the country about what's the difference between traditional African beer and what is just beer. And then beer is by law then defined as a product that is made from malted barley, minimum 33%. It must be flavored with hops, and it must obviously have its alcoholic fermentation arrested, which differentiates it from traditional African beer. So to a lot of people who have never drank a traditional African beer, which unfortunately to this day I still come across people that have been born in Africa, people who through the years have come to call Africa their home, people that live here that have never tasted what we call the traditional African beers. And then you find some, when they do, they still get shocked that such a product could be called beer, because if you are used to traditional clear beers, then these beers would come across as something a bit different, because sorghum beers are not clear, they're not as sparkling, they are however opaque and with a lot of suspended solids. The color varies from pale buff to pink brown based on the type of sorghum malt used. You can get a bit of fruitiness, but it's not as a typical ale. It is sour in taste, and the sourness depends on the production process. So some people prefer it a bit more sour than others, and then I will take you through the different processes within the souring. It is normally served in its active state of fermentation. So when we brew traditional African beer, it is typically has to be consumed within a few days of fermentation. Normally served at room temperature, and to some people, depending on which part of, especially in South Africa, there's certain tribes, different people that prefer it to be a bit more porridgey and more not as watery. So there's different people prefer different ways, which is quite something that makes the product actually extra fascinating, I think. Those are just some pictures of the different beers. Sorghum komboti, so you can see the middle picture there with it fermenting in buckets, and then the other pictures on the sides. Those are the calabash, we call them calabash, that's used to actually serve the product. Traditionally, we would all drink from the same calabash. So if you look at a calabash, something like this is my calabash. But my one is plastic. So the traditional ones they used to make them with clay. So we do home brewing. So home brewing is what a lot of people do. This is what we would do back at home when we're having ceremonies. So for as long as African man has been drinking beer, which has been like forever, that beer has been prepared by women. So it is in our culture that women are the ones who prepare the beer, and it's common for obviously for men mainly to drink it, and not so much the women. So throughout, across all religions across the continent, you find that the women are the ones who are producing the product, and they're being obviously taught by their mothers who What I was talking about earlier, that it's a generational, something that's taught from generation to generation. What you see there are just some pictures of myself with my grandmother, us preparing, as you can see there, I think on one was probably a ceremony at home, and we were making probably like 200 liters of this beer. So according to the South African laws, home brewing is legal as long as obviously the product is not to be sold, it's only for human consumption, for own consumption, with friends and family, but not to be sold. At the bottom picture there is just me busy sieving kombucha. So this is something that I probably do at least once a year. I'll go back home and we'll make this beer. The actual brewing process, so we use sorghum, which in the olden days they would grow the sorghum in the fields. After harvest, they would let it sit for a day or two in water. For those who know the brewing process, you know that is the process called steeping. So the grain will be soaked in water until it sprouts. When it sprouts, then it's called imitombo. As we know, those of us who have completed brewing diplomas, that is called germination. Once obviously the maltster or umama lo who will be making this would know when is the right time, when it has germinated enough, then they would put it out in the sun to dry, which we call kilning. And then once it's kilned, they would then mill it or grind it. Back in the days, they used to have this rock, I don't know what they call them, but we call it kuba, and they would just grind it until normally it's not too floury, otherwise they will struggle with its brewing. In our days, because we don't have obviously access to just growing barley and sorghum and doing the whole malting ourselves, we buy the malted sorghum. One of the well-known brands is King Kong, which is owned by Tiger Brands. I know different countries will have their own different local sorghum that they use. So we would take the King Kong, mix it up with maize meal. So even today we buy maize meal already processed, but obviously back in the days they would harvest the maize and also grind it, and most of the time also take it through the malting process. So there is actually a product by King Kong which is called malted maize that I sometimes also use to mix with the sorghum. So we mix this 1-to-1 ratio with boiling water. Boiling water, typically, if you're making like a 20 liter, I would typically use about 5 liters of boiling water and 1 kilogram of King Kong and 1 kilogram of maize meal. After mixing the mixture, we leave it for a day to sour. So depending on the level of sourness you then want in your final product, you typically leave this for either half a day, a full day, or 2 days. So this is one of the points where a lot of people they start differing. Once you are happy that you've matured or soured enough, then we will then take that mixture and bring it to boil. We boil for an hour. And I remember when I used to brew with my mom and them, it was like you have to boil. You must see it boil. And it is those of us who have studied brewing, you will talk of vigorous boil. So you must have a vigorous boil. You must not simmer. And that I have not, to be honest, looked for the reasons why they have that 1 hour boil in the sorghum. No, I do know that with barley, when we clear beers, why we boil for the hour to obviously strip of the DMS. But what I have not researched, maybe it's a research project, whether is that the same reason why we boil for an hour when we're brewing with sorghum. That I'm not sure of. So after we've boiled, we allow it to cool down. After it's cooled, then we add another portion of mtombo. So if it was if it was 1 kg, then we add another kg and mix it up and add cold water. Then we'll allow it to ferment for about 2 to 3 days. You'll be typically using the natural microorganisms that are found in the sorghum to conduct fermentation. Some people add on yeast, whereas some people would add on a batch from the previous brew to allow for the fermentation. Once fermented, we then sieve or strain it, and then we typically consume within 2 days. Once you go past the 2 days, then you start having acetic acid bacteria. So the one bacteria that you typically will find here is lactic acid, or lactobacillus, which is what will cause the souring. Brewing the sorghum, sorghum is about 70% starch, so very good source of fermentables during brewing. It does not contain gluten, so if you suffer from celiac diseases, using sorghum or having beers that are brewed with sorghum only, then you should be okay. However, sorghum has very low free amino nitrogens and low levels of enzymes, so that is why you don't find a lot of people brewing with it or brewing a lot of clear beers with sorghum. It's also very difficult to process, so you have to either add enzymes or even the equipment that you use. So that is why I know a lot of people ask me, why don't you make 100% sorghum beer that's clear? That is one of the reasons why we don't do it at the moment. Commercial sorghum beers, so there are companies that are producing sorghum beers in large scale. So I think the well-known one across probably the most of SADC, most of the African countries is Chiboko, which is also called the beer of Africa. It's found in many countries throughout the continent in different forms, obviously. Some people call it Jumbo Shake. And then in South Africa, it is owned by United National Brewers. There's also another very popular beer called Joburg beer, also a variation of a sorghum beer. Remember I said earlier that different people like it differently. So I have not compared the two, but you might find that one is more thicker than the other, or is more slightly sour than the other. So those are some of the differences. Sorghum, there was actually an article that was published by the Slow Food South Africa, which indicated that a lot of the young people actually don't, like I said earlier, don't appreciate sorghum brews as much as the older generation, and everybody's moving towards more the mass-produced lagers, and you find that sorghum beers people only brew them when there's traditional ceremonies. So what is happening is that obviously that we are losing the history, what I said earlier. But what is exciting for me is the fact that there's a few breweries or few brewers that are reviving the tradition and actually keeping the tradition relevant to the times, and brewing different beers using sorghum, but making it fashionable. One of those is a company called Culture Concoction, which is a company owned by actually one of the ladies I mentored as she was still a young brewer. So what they do is they make flavored mqombothi, where they flavor with like banana, vanilla, coconut, pineapple, and then they serve it like these nice cocktail glasses, so it makes it appealing. We once did, you see the picture there, we once did a food pairing, a food beer pairing, where they actually paired mqombothi with, I just don't remember what the meal was. But these guys, what they're doing is they're trying to obviously revive the passion around mqombothi and making it relevant to the times. We have another brewery, a friend of mine, Stimela Brewing Company, owned by Utsikwe. He also has been doing some great things around brewing with sorghum. He once did a sorghum pineapple beer, which a lot of people really enjoyed, and he's doing some great things within the space. And then I have another friend who I know everybody's my friend, sorry. I have another friend who led to from Okamba Beer Works. So he launched a beer called Ujwala. So Ujwala is a Nguni word for beer, which is a sorghum saison, saison style beer, which has 35% malted sorghum. I have launched also a Pilsner style beer under my brand Tologazi, which has 15% malted sorghum. Remember, I said earlier that we can't, based on the system that you have limitations of how much sorghum we can use. And I think for me, one of the reasons why I ended up at 15% was after doing a lot of trials, so that it does, just to make sure that the beer still stays within style without losing what the style is about, but then bringing the sorghum in to Africanize it, if there's such a word. And then we have microbreweries. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are opening up microbreweries across the continent, and because similar to the commercial big breweries, you find that the supply of malted barley can become limiting. So you have to kind of make use of whatever sorghum which is really available in your area. So we, Clement, who is from Inland Microbrewery in Ghana, was the first microbrewery in Ghana. I'm not sure if they're still the first or the only one, but he makes all his beers with sorghum. So he makes lagers, he makes stouts, he makes quite a range of beers, and he has obviously found the sorghum variety that works for his beers and his processes. We then have a lot of some of the big breweries who have looked at using sorghum to make clear beers. I think the first one was in Nigeria in the 1980s, when the government at the time banned the imports of barley. So people in the region obviously had to find alternative means of continuing to brew and make the products available. And then in Uganda, they had a project that started in 2001, where they also started looking at using local ingredients to brew the beers. Eagle Lager was launched in 2003, which uses 100% sorghum beer. And you find that there is other beers across the continent that have also breweries that have launched beers that are brewed with 100% local ingredients. For example, we've got Impala in Mozambique that uses 100% cassava. So we're starting to see a lot more brewing companies that are starting to use these local ingredients. So that is the end of my presentation on brewing with sorghum. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and you can follow me on Facebook. I've got a page, Brewster's Craft, and we also have a group, Brewing Courses South Africa. We are also on Twitter at the Brewster ZA, and you can also email me at info@brewsterscraft.co.za. I would like to wish everyone again a happy Africa Day, and I do hope that the Africa Day is not just on the 25th of March, that every day becomes a day where we as Africans can be proud of who we are and be proud of what we have, and then also do all we can to claim our rightful space within the global stage. Thank you very much. Happy Africa Day.